Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment, a podcast devoted to helping you overcome challenges in your life that prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself. Each episode features interviews with people from all walks of life about their journey of self-development and the principles they utilize to overcome their fears to achieve their desired outcome. Ready to be enlightened? Here's your host, Ken Primus.
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. Hi, guys. You know, this is my favorite place. And I want to, first of all, welcome all my listeners to this conversation that we have with Mark. But, you know, it is my custom to first welcome our guest. And he's coming with a couple of things that I deem very expensive. That is his time. Time is a precious commodity given to us 24 hours. What we do with our 24 hours will tell us a lot about ourselves and how we look at relationship, how you think. All of that stuff is encompassed within our understanding on the value of time. The second is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It has created Mark that is before him. It has deposited us a couple of things inside of him that we want to access. I want access to that stuff that he got from his journey. What is that stuff? Wisdom, knowledge, insights, foresights, all those wonderful stuff that was deposited in his life. We want access to it because we want to know how he did what he did so that you and I can do what he did so we can get out of our situation. So we want to welcome Mark for coming and spending both of these precious commodity here with us at Threads of Enlightenment. Mark, thank you so much for coming, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's going to be fun.
It's an honor, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. One of the very first questions that I ask people here, Mark, once they present is, how do you serve mankind? And my listeners know that the reasons why I do that is to alert them that this journey on this life is not just about the self. Of course, we go through our personal journey, but also it ushers us to the gift that I think that we get a chance to experience while we're here on this planet, and that is to serve mankind. So how do you serve mankind?
Well, it's a heavy question. So how do I try to serve mankind? I'll leave it up to other people to tell me whether I'm successful doing so, but I just try and help. I try and be available and aware and listen. And my thing has been professional development. I've found people jobs my whole life. That was my business. I started businesses and sold them, and that's what we did. We recruited and placed people in the information technology industry. And so helping people get better professionally. And as I suggested to you before we hit record, and it was, you can't do that without digging into the personal stuff too. It's just, and not do it well. You can't do it well without digging into the personal stuff. So I just try and make myself available to help people. And sometimes I get paid for that.
And those of you guys who are listening who just probably turned in, recruiting, many of you may be alerted to that word, and you grab your attention, pull up a seat, sit down, because maybe the job that you're in, maybe something is just not right, and you're looking for an avenue by which you can gain some additional information to maybe usher you to another degree, a lateral move, if you will, something towards getting out of where you're at to maybe help you to find your place in yourself and in your family. So buckle up, guys, and here we go. Mark, one of the questions that we ask, I love to jump into this time machine, if you will, via the memory, to get access to what your family unit was like. We want to know, how were you, what was your family unit, what was your upbringing like, if you will, with your family, because I tell people that's the genesis of us, the beginnings of the beginnings, if you will. We learn how to think, we process our thoughts, all of these different things. From there, our belief systems are begin to mold relationship skills, all of that. What was your family unit like?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that question, Ken. It's something we were not paying enough attention to anymore. I'm sad about that. I grew up in a white picket fence, Irish Catholic, one of four children, a middle child. I had an older brother and a younger sister and a younger brother. And my mother and father were very bright, and they were intellectually curious. Were athletic, so we all played sport at a relatively high level, not professional and not even college, but it was always around. We played everything. We were outside all the time. And so Catholic, conservative, Yeah, read a lot. We weren't encouraged to watch TV. We weren't allowed actually to watch TV unless it was a certain time, a certain thing. We read a lot. And so, yeah, that was the vibe.
That's good. That's a good beginning, if you will, because not being privy to all the programs that we get from that box about how we ought to behave and stuff like that, where mom and dad are having a much more robust conversation and also giving you the opportunity to experience reading. What does reading do? Reading ignites the imagination. Sports are also another tool that can use to teach people about mindset control and pushing beyond. So here you a great start, Mark. I mean, I think that's a great start that mom and dad offer you. As you're growing up now and you're heading out, what was your relationship like to the others outside of mom and dad's control, if you will, with the TV and stuff like that? Where did you get your news from, man, as they say, as you were hanging out with your other friends? What were your relationships like?
Yeah, no, it was all intertwined with sports. It was teammates and it was also neighbors. Like my friendship population started next door and down the street and then on the way to school. And there were,
Yeah,
I don't know, 5 to 10, maybe 15 kids you kind of picked up on the way, and you all just kind of hung out
nice.
while you're walking to school. Good conversations, walking across the frozen pond, sometimes in the winter, and through the cemetery and skateboarding. It was
Yeah,
we were outside.
I love it, man. I'm from a different culture, and we grew up on the outside. I mean, we were never home, especially on the weekend. Me and the boys, we would grab a little pouch with something. We had our slingshot, some rice in the back there, and we're gone. We're gone. We're not coming back until a couple of days later inside the woods hunting for food and all kinds of stuff. So I love that type of childhood when you're out all day long, especially in today's society, Mark. That stuff is like a fairy tale in a book.
Yeah, it's. I wish it weren't the case, Ken. I wish it weren't the case. My kids were all athletes, but they're inside way more than I ever was. Looking at screens and being influenced by things that were foreign to us as kids.
Yeah, yeah. And as your family, because your family being as it is, I'm sure they stressed a few things. Education is one of those things that they stress. Mark, when you're heading, you're growing a young man, you made it through high school, you're okay, and you're looking towards college. What was the conversation as to why did you go to college, Mark? Because I know families like it's, but then sometimes we have some outside conversation about that. But I want to also ask you, which field did you pick and why did you pick that field?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I'm gonna come at that from a couple different angles. I feel completely different as we speak today about college and what I would advise a young man. When I was 16, 17, whenever I was making that decision, I wanted no part of it. I didn't have any interest in college, or I had no. The only reason I went to college is because my parents wanted me to go to college. And I remember talking to my father in particular about it and saying, I don't want to go anywhere in Massachusetts or Ivy League. I want to get out of the Ivy League. I have a strong distaste for the whole Ivy League vibe. So I want to go somewhere else.
Hmm.
And he
Yeah.
brought up Notre Dame. And I said, yeah, I heard that's a football school. And I had no idea, And anyway, long story short, he comes down in the summer. I'm teaching kids how to play soccer, and I'm on this field. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my dad's here. That something's wrong because he's not. He doesn't come here. He waits for me to come home after practice is over. He looked distraught, and I said, Dad, what's up? And he said, you got in. So what do you? I gotta know. I gotta know what. He goes Notre Dame, and he started bawling. He doesn't cry. He's a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
I've seen him cry like twice in my life. And so that was my experience. Wonderful, wonderful in hindsight. Love to tell that story. Today, I would say if you don't have 100% certainty about what you want to do, which nobody does at 17, Don't go to
Hmm.
college. Do something
Yeah.
else, and then go maybe in a year. Go to Europe. Go get a job. Go learn a trade. Go do something
Yeah.
else. Learn a language, and come back in a year. Go make some money. Support yourself. And so I think that's how I feel about it now, Ken. It's a whole different conversation. I wouldn't want to dissuade any young person from going to college, because if you know what you want to do, or you're going to do
Yeah.
something that requires a college degree, like be an attorney or a doctor, then go. But that's a slight minority of the population, in my estimation.
Yeah. I agree with you in that way, Mark. I think if you don't know, um, and I've talked to a bunch of kids and stuff like that, and I told them, if you don't know, go do a trade. Take a year, find some kind of trade that you like. If you like computer or whatever, get into a trade school for that time and learn that trade. In many cases, Mark, I've known kids that went and got a trade, making a lot more money than anyone has been through college and got a master's degree. And because those guys got a head start, if you will. And by the time they graduated, those boys were clocking 3, 4 years within a company, doing well, making a ton of money. So, yeah, if you know what you're doing, go. If you don't, take time, learn a trade, take some time. Like you said, traveling is another thing that will open up your mind
Yeah.
and began to expand your belief system. And when you get a taste of different cultures, different people, different belief system, it will also help you to mature much faster than, and it'll bring some clarity to you as you are searching to find out exactly what you want to do. So yeah, man, don't just jump in there, man. Talk to people like Mark because he's here. That's what he does. So here you are. You went into school. You went into college. How was it once you got there?
I was overwhelmed. In my high school, I was a pretty, I wouldn't say a big deal, but I was well respected on a number of different levels, and thought I was kind of ahead of the game,
Yeah,
athletically, intellectually, and I wasn't a dick, but I was a little cocky, and I got to Notre Dame, and I was like, where did all these huge, intelligent, highly athletic people come from? I'm like nothing. I felt it was shocking to me. It was shocking to
yeah,
me. But I ran with it, because it was also, wow, this is cool. Look at all this stuff. Look at all these intellectually bright and vibrant people that are really much better at me at everything. And so
yeah,
it was a wonderful challenge at the same time. But it took me a while to get, appreciate what I was in the middle of. And so I didn't really perform well academically until my third or fourth year, and kind of got it in year late. But I got
yeah.
my degree in 4 years, and I picked marketing, dude. I had no purpose for picking marketing. It just kind of, I slid into that slot. It just felt like I had
Yeah.
no purpose.
So once you graduated, because you now are, as they say, you're heading into adulthood. You got the
That's kind.
paper, you worked, you got the piece of paper that they tell us we have to have. So you're working well according to the program, because the program is you got to get your degree, then you got to get your job,
Mhm.
and then we are heading towards the white picket fence and all the different things. So once you graduated with your marketing degree, where did you end up, and how did that come about?
Yeah, it's I feel like I want to tell it in the context of what I now know, which is kind of unfair because hindsight's 2020. But I just was started interviewing with companies that came on campus, and because it was Notre Dame, every company in the country came to the campus. They were hunting for, we were the best and the brightest, supposedly. I was at that
Yeah,
tail end of that list, but we were supposed, the reputation I benefited from, and I didn't realize that, the power of that, until much later. That because I went to Notre Dame, people thought a certain way about me, and so I got a job selling group insurance to companies with more than 200 employees, and I went into the 61st floor of the Standard Oil building in downtown Chicago, and I bought a couple suits and rented a shithole apartment as close to work as I could, and pretended to sell insurance for about almost 3 years. But it was horrible. It was, as you know, you take these steps. and you learn.
Yeah.
You try and remain self-aware through the journey, and you take these steps. And when something happens, you okay, feels like I should do something different now, or something else, or I need to know more, or something needs to change. And
Yeah.
it at the beginning. I think we all stumble at the beginning, right? I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then I ended up
Man,
moving back to Boston and getting this girl pregnant and starting a family and became a recruiter. So I would like to tell everybody that's listening, because I get the context of the vibe that you're trying to send out now a little bit more, is it's just a journey and you don't know where you're going, and that's okay. And then just keep going. Just the only way that you can fail is to give up. Just don't give up. Just keep going, whatever that means. Take another step.
yeah, it's that's the key right there. Never give up. And I always try to tell people, Mark, you're not alone. And one of the things that I've spoken to many people, and they feel because their beginnings are small, they feel that, "Oh, I'm here, it's not useful, it's wasted time." And I would tell them, no, nothing that you do and no place that you go is a waste of time in your life. You are learning. It's not being utilized yet. But whatever you are picking up, principles, attitudes, understanding about personalities, all of those little things that you don't think that you're digesting will be used at some point. Just keep moving, as Mark says. Don't give up. Don't. When there's stagnation within yourself, you'll feel it, and you'll feel that unrest. And the unrest is good. The unrest is just saying to you that I want to expand you. I want to stretch you out a little. Then you start looking inside to find out where is that direction going to go. But none of us all the time know where we're going. Sometimes it just come into our view, and we just open the door and take a step. You went and you got this young lady pregnant. You have a family, and you're sitting there, and you realize, hell, what did I do? How did the recruiting piece came into your sphere, Mark? How did that came about?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I was kind of like, I woke up like it was an immediate wake up call. You're going to be a father, and then I started looking, and I walked into my parents' condo. My mom's good friend had just remarried this guy. He was an Australian guy, very vibrant, upbeat, interesting guy. Over a glass of wine, I asked him, I'm kind of searching for my thing.
Hmm.
What do you do? And he said, sure, I'm a recruiter of petrochemical engineers in Saudi Arabia. So, well, what does that mean? And he said, they help Saudi Arabian oil companies find petrochemical engineers to come and work in Saudi Arabia at the oil for 3-year contracts. And I said, well, how do you get compensated? He said, I receive a percentage of the amount of money that they pay these guys on an annual basis. And I said, well, what do these guys get paid? And he said, a couple $100,000 a year, and they get a free home, a car, and all their expenses paid for 3 years. And so that's the only way that we can attract the best of the best to work in Saudi Arabia
Yeah,
for 3 years. And I said, what's the percentage what's your fee? And he said, 20%. I said, so you make like
nice.
60, 80 grand uh, per placement. He said, yeah. I said, all right, I'm going to look into that recruiting thing. And that's when I answered the ad in the paper, and I went on an interview and I got a job. I had no idea this industry even existed. I thought companies found their own people, and there's this
Yeah,
intermediary play. It's like the agent, the broker, the sports agent. I was a sports
yeah.
agent for information technology professionals. It was cool. It hit me right away. I liked it right away.
Great. That's also a great story, Mark, that you were able to find your location, if you will, something that got you excited, something that you were really glad to be a part of. As you did that and you began to operate in that field, Mark, what did you start to notice about you? How did you manage you in that space? What was happening to you, man? Again, you did insurance for a little while and you found this thing. And How did you begin to assimilate Mark's mind, his mindset, what was beginning to do in his personal development?
So, I mean, what I discovered, I got lucky, and I got a good the guy that managed me, that led me, that mentored me initially. He was a good guy, and I put him through a lot of shit because the up and downs of my relationship with my girlfriend, who was now the mother of my child, and it was rocky for a couple of years. So that was tugging on me and distracting me. But he was very important, and I was talented enough to, I guess, be worthy of being tolerated. And I
Yeah,
paid attention. I listened. I think I tell a lot of kids and people in general, I think I listened pretty good. I was paying attention to what was happening around me. Like, okay, this is what this guy's telling you to do, and how he's telling you to do it it seems good. It's relationship driven. There's integrity in it. And if you move the ball properly, at the end, the person that you're helping gets a better job, a better life, that things improve
yeah,
for that person. So that's wonderful. And you get a chunk of change. So it
yeah.
just started to make sense to me.
Yeah. And as you began to move there and you began to make sense as you're looking in your life, talk to us a little about the personal piece as you began. You said it was tough. And because we talked about this on the onset, the personal piece does affect your performance in your business. And you have to learn how to marry them, if you will, but you have to learn how to deal with the self first. And once you begin to deal with the self, your mind will change, which will change your performance and your outlook and all the other things. Talk to us, Mark, about what did you do to begin to help you to manage yourself within all that chaos, as you said, within as your family is growing.
It's as you're asking the question, I'm thinking I have a very good model for what a father's supposed to be. My dad's a,
Yeah.
a great dad. I was very fortunate. He's still with us. He's 96 today, actually.
Wow. Tell him I say
I
happy
got I
birthday,
got to
man.
call, I got to call him after we're done. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I knew what it had a target. I knew what it looked like. This is what I need to aspire to be, or something close to this, something approaching this, and it's a level of personal accountability, I think, and pragmatism is, and he's kind. He's kind. He's wise. I want to be kind. I want to be wise. That's what I want to aspire to be. So it just started.
Yeah.
It started being the target, and all I had to do was like move in that direction. And so that's what I started to do.
That's a testament to the work of your dad and what he did in building your foundation to get you to be able to hold on to that as your North Star to guide you in your life. I mean, any father, Mark, that's the mark right there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's that's a topic for a whole nother podcast. Yeah, that's a big topic right there. But I got lucky, but I'm grateful for it. I appreciate it. I'm not like pretending it wasn't a gift from heaven.
Yeah. And as you begin to mature, Mark, and you're dealing with yourself and learning about who you are in business and so forth, because I know I was reading all your stuff, you got real good at this thing, man. And you started identifying people and start training people and stuff like that, getting people the opportunity that changed their lives and their trajectory. Talk to us about some of those. Let me back up for a minute. What are the traits that you see and you're looking for in an individual when one is recruiting? We have people maybe listening out there, Mark, and they're sitting in their job and they're not happy. What is it that a recruiter like you is looking for in an individual so that they can learn to make sure that they are ready when they're coming to you guys and when they're coming in your space?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it should be the same for everyone. I think that the nuance is is there a particular piece of knowledge that's tactical, that's very specific, that one needs to know very well to do a particular job. Otherwise, it's all the same. I want someone who is, if I ask you, what's the hardest thing that's ever happened to you in your whole life, and tell me how you overcame it. Just tell me the story, and I'm going to hit the timer for 5 minutes and just listen to you. And that's what I want to know. Are you self-accountable? Are you blaming other people? Can you tell a good story? How creative are you? How logical are you? I mean, everything that comes from that question is all I care about. And I think that
Yeah.
what I try to teach people is how to identify that. Just let's go self-aware, like deep, like get in. Just keep asking why, why? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And then get to the core of what it is that, people call it different things: your passion, your purpose, your reason for being here, whatever it is. And can we monetize that, and can everyone win in the process? And then you just like figure that out. And once you start to figure that out, begin to craft that story so you can tell a very clear, articulate story that has meaning, that gets someone to do something, to move in a particular direction and make progress in some capacity. And so that's how I think about that.
Yeah, you see, as I said, guys, anything and everything that you do in life does not go to waste. See where all that marketing knowledge came and what he's doing with those questions and all that different stuff. You never waste your life in the sense of locations that you have. Here you are, Mark. You have it's a pointed question because I've asked that question in my interviews as well as I'm interviewing people because we kind of know what it'll do and how it does things. As you're moving in your life today and as far as you're looking at things out there, what is it you feel, Mark, that you bring to the table to help someone that maybe is looking for someone like you to help them through their mess after you've asked them that question and you can extract a few things from there? How do you guide them once you begin to move them through?
Well, it's to some extent circumstantial because we all have different things that are tugging at us and pulling at us and pushing at us. But I was sitting with a very good friend of mine last week, and we hadn't seen each other in quite a while. Among other things, I mean, I love him. He's one of my best friends, and
Yeah.
a special human being that I can say anything to. Among many other things that we talked about, he asked me to help one of his daughter's friends who was in a confused place professionally and didn't really know where to go next. Um, we talked a little bit about who this young man was, and then my friend said to me, he said, "Well, maybe you can give him what you gave me." And I said, "What did I give you?" And now, to put it in context, I hired this friend of mine, 20 years ago. And so he worked for me for a couple of years and then just became my friend and then became one of my best friends over the course of
Yeah.
like 15, 20 years. So this is who I'm talking to. I said, "What did I give you?" And he said, "Confidence." And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So apparently that's what I give people, is confidence. And I think I give it to them, Ken, by helping them answer some questions and clarifying some things and giving them permission to maybe dream bigger than they thought they had permission to dream. It's like people put constraints on themselves. I do. Everyone does. I do it too. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not signaling myself out from this, but it's like, dude, you could do. What if I said you could do whatever you wanted? You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Just like the next step to that is, well, what is it? How do I maybe move in that direction? Well, it's probably information, advice,
Hmm.
coaching, mentoring, work. It's investigation. It's just move in that direction. It might not work out, but you'll find out, and then you'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, the principle that I've read in the Bible, it says all things are possible to the man who believe.
Hmm.
So the limitation is always you and I. It's never,
Yeah.
and what are we believing about ourselves? And as you said, how do you change one's belief? You go and you get the data. You go and you get all the information necessary and bring it into there, and you begin to utilize your critical thinking skills and your in deciphering all the different data, and then you find your way as to how to obtain whatever you want to do. It starts with your belief, man. Do and I tell people, Mark, when they sit down in front of people like you, the questions, I said, questions will be coming to you, a million miles a minute. And the purpose behind the questions is to locate where you are. And you're hiding. I tell them, you're hiding. You didn't even know that you were hiding because you think you're just living and doing your life, but you're hiding amongst all types of excuses, all types of beliefs. And the questions has to come to strip away all of that stuff. And once that individual who's skilled questioner locates you, then they'll be able to move you through. And I tell them the principle is that the truth is going to set you free. Whatever truth you were looking for, that individual will be able to move you through from that location that you're at once they locate you. And you will say something like, wow, I didn't know I could ask that question. Wow, I didn't know that that's a possibility. And that's the beginning of the conversation in moving through, because your truth has just awoken you, and then you have the opportunity to go and make that a reality in your life. Mark, in reading all your stuff you've done, you've been serving, man. Your life is a testament to that. As you are looking at the outside today, you see some of these young kids. Talk to some of them, Mark. Talk to one of those. Talk to you, young Mark, sitting there, 16 years old, got this girl pregnant, and he probably felt he was all alone. How did he mess up or whatever? All the different things. You know what it was. I was there, Mark. Talk to Mark, um, and encourage him or give him some information that now that you know hindsight, that you can help someone like a Mark when he was 16.
Yeah, it's funny. I've actually written and recorded a piece of work, 21 things I wish I knew when I was 21. And I actually I got my girlfriend pregnant when I was 26. So that's I was in a very different place when I was 16. I was just an ignorant high school kid. But no, I think it's all the same stuff. It's I think of the things that I really have been talking about and writing about lately. It's self-awareness. I think that the exercise of self-awareness, engaging in that on a regular basis is a really, really healthy exercise, because it's constantly changing, and it needs attention, I think, on a consistent basis. And then you become authentic and you become genuine, and you just keep, you know, and self accountability. It's like you can blame other people and other things, and sometimes it's other people and other things' fault, but it doesn't change the reality. Whatever
Yeah,
happened to you, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's like, what could you
yeah,
have done better? What can you learn from that failure or that fault, and sharpen that knife too? And it's just like, and you keep doing that, and then step back every once in a while and recognize that it's really not, you're not going anywhere. There's no destination to this. It's just a journey. The whole thing's a journey. And
yeah,
if you can enjoy the moment, if you can enjoy the journey, then it doesn't matter. There's no success and failure. It's just progress. Just move
yeah.
forward, learn more stuff, read interesting things, introduce yourself to interesting people, go to interesting places, and just keep doing that.
Yeah. Complaining and blaming people has an expiration date, I tell people. And as Mark said, when you become an observer, Mark, I call it an observer, when you begin to look at yourself and put it in slow motion, if you will. When you begin to do that, I think that's when true personal development begins, because that's when you start questioning your behavior as an observer. Why did I do that? What could I have done? And as you begin to investigate yourself via those questions, checking your behaviors and stuff like that, you become this outside individual looking into who you are, giving you permission to change by offering up those questions, giving you permission to expand. And when you begin to do that, man, it really, truly works. I try to tell people it works. And and like you said, people are trying to chase perfection and don't understand it has nothing to do about anything. It's not perfection, it's the journey. It's about learning, it's about expanding. Don't even like perfection, because I think, Mark, if I'm perfect, then I'm at a standstill in a way. And I don't know if that's doesn't appeal to me, perfection in that sense. I just want to know more and more and more. And, that's when one engages in more deeper questions. And so as we dig deeper, we find more things or more things that we need to deal with, attitudes, pre-programmed stuff that has been there. So as you are, Mark, I know you had, I read that you had put together the podcast. Is the podcast, how did that come about?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. Um, I was doing some consulting with a company that was helping people overcome trauma, and no longer associated with them. We parted ways, I think, about a year ago. I think it was probably 4 years ago. My current podcast colleague, partner, friend reached out to me as I was representing this organization to help people overcome trauma. He had been a high level athlete for a long time, and his sport was rugby. And he estimated that he had somewhere in the area of 25 to 30 concussions during his professional
Wow.
rugby career. And so his brains were a little scrambled, as he said, and he was feeling a little depressed, and it was bumming him out. He's very high achieving entrepreneur, father, husband, one percenter, in terms of financial and professional performance, and just a really
Yeah.
nice guy. And we became friends very quickly. He came out to Orlando, and we put him through the protocol, and we had some lunch and a couple beers and afterwards over the course of 2 or 3 days, and we decided that we wanted to collaborate and maybe get something going. My daughter is among other things, a podcast producer. That's one of her service lines she sells online, is how to start a podcast and market a podcast and make money with a podcast. And she's a film major and a very creative individual, so she was right there and helped us kind of kick this idea into motion. And we started
Yeah.
talking, and we thought we just talk about, the imperfections that are part of being a middle-aged man. We both saw the world in a similar fashion, relatively conservatively and practically in our estimation.
Yeah.
And we both like to laugh, and we both have a lot of really good stories because we put ourselves out there for most of our lives, and we're getting pretty good at it. We're getting some pretty interesting feedback. We're getting interesting, I suppose, and we'll see where it goes. We didn't really have a marketing plan or a monetization plan, but it sits well with the message I try to send everywhere else. It's like, let's just
Yeah.
keep trying to figure this shit out.
I love that. Guys, we're going to put Mark's information so you could have access. Get to that podcast. Learn, man. I keep telling people my podcast is just one. I don't have all the answers. I just interview people. Get to other podcasts. Mark them has in one of their conversations may be your key for you. And those podcasters out there that are listening to us, I'm going to ask Mark to provide us his daughter information so that maybe they can get in touch with her and production and podcast marketing and how to make money. So there's a lot of people that need help out there. So we could put her stuff in there as well so that they can have access to her if with your permission, Mark, and her
Yeah, that'd be
permission
great.
as well.
Thank you,
Just
Ken.
let her know. I would
Yeah.
love to do that, make sure people have access to her.
Mhm.
So talk to me now, Mark. Here you are, man. You doing the podcast. You have created a couple of multimillionaires. All of this stuff. You are learning a lot about you, and you tell people about the journey, to focus on the journey and the self and stuff like that. As you are at this time in your life, this is when they say we're in our prime, man. You're here in this life. What is your advice, if you will, to those coming behind? I tell people the thing about the journey is some of us are ahead of it and some of us are behind, but we can always have a conversation. We can give you guys some warning that are behind us, some advice, if you will. Talk to them and give us some advice, and we're going to provide everything, Mark, because I want them to get in your space so that they can really get closer to you in your proximity, so you can exchange more about those wisdom and knowledge and insights you have inside of you. I talk to a group of us out here, us young ones, man. Tell us as to how to maintain, how to get up, how to keep moving, stuff like that. What is your
Well, that's a big question. I suppose it's my same colleague, my podcast partner, likes a phrase. You can, at some point in life, you can choose one of two paths. You can choose to continue to get better, or you can begin to get bitter. And that's it. I mean, as I've been through, I feel very fortunate. I'm very grateful for all of the wonderful people and things that I've had in my life. And I've also experienced some hardship. And I don't at all mean to compare my hardship as being worse or better than anyone else's. It's not a contest. I don't want the fucking trophies. Pardon my French. Think that you make that choice, and if you want to get better, then what does getting better mean? It means investigating and observing and paying attention and listening and being grateful and getting in better shape and doing breath work and meditation and praying and being available to help other people. It's just like everyone, we know all the good stuff. Just do that stuff, and the other stuff that's like when you get stuck in the bitter or the woe is me, or I wish I had what that guy has. It's like, no, just don't stay there. Just get out of that place real quick, because you're gonna go there. I go there, but just don't stay. I think when I get better, when I feel like I'm getting better, it's like I just don't stay there. I get right out of there. It's like I'm there. I don't want to be there. Get out of there. Boom. I'm back. I'm grateful. Okay. Cool.
Yes, it's the key, man. I tell people be grateful that they and thankful. Those are some great spaces, and what it does when you begin to become grateful of what you have, it shifts your space, brings you from that depression, and you begin to inwardly change, and you begin to rewire your thoughts. And as Mark says, you don't stay in it too long, as you've learned a couple of tools to bring you out in your life: prayer, meditation, breath work. These are powerful tools, man, that will able to assist you to become a better you and become more and more curious about yourself. Ask questions. Why did you think that way? Why do you believe? Become an observer in your life. Keep moving, man. One step at a time, and before you know it, you're a mile up the road, and you're looking like, wow, how did I get here? Because one step at a time. Mark, man, thank you for coming. This has been nice, pleasant conversation. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Me too, Ken.
And thank you for allowing me access to your wisdom and your insights and stuff like that. And I know that there is some people that are listening to this podcast that will get some good stuff out of it. And we're going to provide all your access for you guys to get to him, whether it's recruiting or whether you want to know about personal development, about not moving and keep moving and all that. I'm going to give you guys everything. For those that are in podcasts, Mark's agreed, and I'm sure his daughter will allow us to provide her stuff too, so that you guys could have access to her for her skill set, because that's what she's here to do it. And you guys can get access to her so that you can learn how to make your money with the podcast and live, man. So Mark, I really appreciate you coming and spending time with us here, man.
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Thanks, man. See.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.